he sat on his usual bench, overlooking the same serene lake, breathing the same air. But something had shifted. Something so subtle, it almost went unnoticed. And in that precise moment, everything began to transform forever. What I'm about to reveal is the most overlooked sign of the entire spiritual journey. A sign that occurs exactly 5 seconds before awakening. And Eckhart Tolle has known this secret for decades. Have you ever had that strange moment, that second, of complete mental silence? As if someone had turned off the radio in your mind? Most people completely ignore it. They think it was just a coincidence, a random distraction. But I assure you, it was no coincidence. There's a very specific moment that precedes spiritual awakening. A moment science still can't fully explain, but that all the great spiritual masters know intimately. It's like a secret code. A door that opens for just 5 seconds. And if you don't know how to recognize this sign, you could spend years trying to awaken, decades meditating, reading hundreds of spiritual books, and remain exactly where you are. But before I reveal what this sign is, I need to tell you something few know about Eckhart Tolle, something he himself took a long time to understand. And that completely changed how he views awakening. It was 1977. Eckhart was 29 years old. He was going through the darkest period of his life. Severe depression, constant anxiety, suicidal thoughts. He woke up every night with an unbearable weight on his chest, as if he were carrying the entire world on his shoulders. And it was on one of those nights of despair that it happened. He was lying in bed, immersed in his darkest thoughts. Suddenly, something strange happened. For exactly 5 seconds, his mind fell completely silent. Completely. It wasn't meditation. It wasn't relaxation. It was something much deeper. As if someone had pressed the pause button on reality. And in that absolute silence, he had a perception that would change his life forever. I am not my thoughts. Seems simple, right? Even obvious. But for Eckhart, at that moment, it was an explosive revelation. For the first time in his life, he was able to observe his own mind from the outside, as if he were a spectator of his own experience. And it was precisely at that moment that he realized something revolutionary. There is a space, a gap, a tiny interval between you and your thoughts. And it's in this space that your true identity resides, your real essence. But here's the secret nobody tells you. This space doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's always been there. What happens is that our minds are always so noisy that we never manage to perceive it. It's like trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a crowded party. Now tell me something. Have you ever noticed how your mind works? It's utter chaos, isn't it? Thought upon thought, worry upon worry, memory upon memory. As if you had 50 different conversations going on in your head at the same time. And do you know why this happens? Why is our mind so noisy? Why can't it simply be quiet? The answer will shock you, and it will explain exactly why this 5-second sign is so important. Your mind is afraid of silence, terrified even. Why? Because in silence, it completely loses control. In silence, the ego cannot exist. And the ego is the voice in your head that constantly comments on everything, judges everything, analyzes everything. It's as if your mind were a desperate employee trying to keep its job. It needs to prove that it's useful, that it's necessary. So it invents problems to solve, creates worries to address, generates drama to keep you busy. But what happens when you finally manage to perceive this game? When you recognize that you don't need to believe every thought that goes through your head. Then, everything changes. And that's exactly what happens in the 5 seconds before awakening. Your mind stops, not through effort, not through technique. It simply stops, as if it had given up fighting. And in that surrender, something magical emerges. You feel a presence, a pure consciousness, formless, without thoughts, without stories. It's you, but not the you think you are. It's the real you, the silent observer who has always been there. Eckhart describes this as the space in which life happens. Imagine that your consciousness is like the sky. Thoughts are like clouds. The clouds come and go, but the sky remains the same. Infinite, immutable, serene. And do you know what's even more incredible? This state doesn't last just 5 seconds. This is only the beginning. It's as if those 5 seconds were a preview of a movie, a taste of something much greater that is yet to come. But here's the problem. Most people don't know how to identify when this happens. They don't recognize the signs, and therefore, they miss the opportunity. It's like having the key to the most important door in your life, but not knowing which lock to use. So let me teach you exactly what to look for. The specific signs that indicate you are 5 seconds away from awakening, and how not to let this opportunity slip away. First sign, you will feel a strange stillness. It's not just mental silence. It's something deeper, as if the entire universe had paused to breathe. You will notice that even the sounds around you become sharper, more vivid, as if you had cleaned the lenses of glasses you didn't even know you were wearing. Second sign, you will have the feeling of watching your own life from the outside, as if you were an observer. Not with cold detachment, but with a loving curiosity, like a mother watching her child play. Present, attentive, but without interfering. Third sign, your thoughts will slow down, much slower. It's as if someone had slowed down the playback speed of your mind. And in this slowness, you'll begin to perceive the spaces between thoughts, small pauses that have always been there. Fourth sign, you will feel an expansion in your chest, an opening, as if your heart had grown 3 times its normal size. It's not emotion. It's something more subtle, a feeling of connection with everything that exists, as if the boundaries between you and the world had begun to dissolve. And the fifth sign, this is the most important. You will feel a presence, a consciousness that does not think, that does not judge, that simply is. And at that moment, you will know, without a doubt, that you have found your home, your true home. But be careful. These signs are subtle, very subtle. It's easy to let them pass. It's easy to disregard them. The mind will try to explain. It will say it's imagination, that it's suggestion, that it's nothing. Don't believe it. In these moments, your mind is like a desperate salesman trying to keep you as a client. It will use every trick possible to convince you that nothing has changed, that you still need it, that without it, you are lost. A lie, a complete lie. The truth is, you've never been more found in life. Never been more whole, more complete, more yourself. And here's something that will surprise you. These 5 seconds don't happen only once in a lifetime. They can happen many times, dozens of times, hundreds of times. Every time you are truly present, they can appear. The problem is that most people live on autopilot, always thinking about the past or the future, always worried about something, always distracted. And when you're distracted, you completely miss these magical moments. It's like having diamonds scattered on the floor, but always looking at the ceiling. The diamonds are there, available, waiting, but you can't see them because you're looking in the wrong place. So let me ask you a question. When was the last time you completely stopped? When did you sit in absolute silence for at least 5 minutes? No cell phone, no music, no television, no book, nothing. Just you and the present moment. Hard to remember, isn't it? And do you know why? Because our society is terrified of silence, terrified of emptiness. We always need to be doing something, consuming something, thinking about something, as if silence were our enemy. But Eckhart Tolle discovered something revolutionary. Silence is not empty. Silence is full, full of infinite possibilities, full of deep peace, full of ancestral wisdom. Silence is where God dwells, where your true nature dwells. And the more you connect with this silence, the more it becomes a part of you. Until one day, you realize that you are the silence, that your true identity was never your thoughts, never your emotions, never your personal stories. Your true identity is pure consciousness, the empty space where everything happens, the blank screen where the movie of life is projected. And this discovery changes everything. But don't think it's easy. Don't think it'll happen overnight. Awakening is a process, gradual, subtle, like a flower slowly opening, petal by petal. And there are phases in this process, specific stages that everyone goes through. And each stage has its own signs, its own challenges, its own opportunities for growth. Eckhart Tolle talks about it as death before death. Not physical death, psychological death, the death of the ego, the death of the false identity. And like all death, it's a process of letting go, of releasing, of surrendering. But here's the paradox. To find your real life, you need to die to the false life. To discover who you really are, you need to stop being who you think you are. To awaken, you need to stop dreaming. And the 5 seconds before awakening, it's like the ego's last gasp. The final moment before complete surrender. Like a candle about to go out, it gives one last flicker of light. And then, total silence. But this silence is not death. This silence is rebirth. It's like leaving a dark room and entering the sunlight. At first, it hurts your eyes a little. You're a little confused. But then, silence. You realize you'll never want to go back to the darkness. And you know what's even more beautiful? When you finally awaken, you realize you were never asleep. That awakening was always your natural condition, that you had just forgotten, like someone who lost their keys and then realizes they were always in their pocket. This means you don't need to become something you're not. You don't need to acquire any special qualities. You don't need to be better, more spiritual, more evolved. You just need to stop pretending to be something you're not. It's like taking off a mask you've been wearing for so long that you forgot you were wearing it. And when you finally take it off, you take a deep breath and think, wow, how did I manage to breathe with this on my face for so long? Now, let me tell you something that will completely change your perspective about what happens after those 5 seconds. Because this is the part that nobody teaches you, the part that most spiritual books don't explain. Awakening is not a single event. It's not like winning the lottery once and that's it. It's more like learning to ride a bike. At first, you fall. You get up, You fall again. You get up again, until one day, you just know how to ride. And here's the secret that Eckhart Tolle took years to discover. After those 5 seconds of total silence, your mind will come back. It always comes back, but something fundamental is changed. It doesn't come back with the same force. It doesn't come back with the same authority. It's as if it has lost some of its power over you. Imagine that your mind was like a dictator who completely controlled your inner country. After those 5 seconds, it's as if there has been a revolution. The dictator still exists, still speaks, still tries to give orders. But now you know you don't have to obey, that you have a choice. And that is liberating in a way you can't even imagine. Because for the first time in your life, you are no longer a slave to your own thoughts. You are no longer a hostage to your emotions. You are no longer a victim of your own mental stories. But beware, here lies a real danger. A danger that Eckhart Tolle calls the spiritual trap. Many people have this 5-second experience and then become obsessed with trying to repeat it. They force it. They become desperate to return to that state. And that is the exact opposite of what you should do. It's like trying to hold water in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it escapes through your fingers. Awakening cannot be forced. It cannot be conquered. It can only be allowed. So what is the right attitude? How should you behave after this experience? Eckhart Tolle teaches something very simple, but revolutionary. You do nothing. Absolutely nothing. You simply recognize that something has changed, and you continue living your normal life. But there is a subtle difference now, a difference that grows day by day. You begin to realize that there is an observer within you, someone who is always watching, always present, always calm. Even when you're stressed, this observer remains serene. It's like having a security camera in your own mind. This camera never turns off, never gets emotional, never judges. It just observes. And the more you connect with this camera, the more peace you feel. Let me give you a practical example. You are in traffic, completely stuck, late for an important appointment. Your mind starts racing. Irritation, anxiety, anger. Thoughts race. I should have left earlier. This always happens to me. What a horrible situation. Before the awakening, you were those thoughts. You identified completely with them. It was like being trapped inside an emotional roller coaster. No control whatsoever. After the awakening, you still feel the irritation. You still have the thoughts. But there's a part of you that's observing all of this from the outside. Like a scientist studying their own reactions. Curious, interested, but not identified. And in that observation, something magical happens. The intensity lessens. The urgency relaxes. You realize you can feel the irritation without being the irritation. You can have anxious thoughts without being an anxious person. This changes everything, 'cause now you have space, you have perspective, you have choice. You can decide how to react instead of simply reacting automatically. It's the difference between being a puppet controlled by strings and being the puppeteer themselves. But here's something that'll surprise you even more. This serene observer who lives inside you, they've always been there. Since you were born, since before you learned to speak, since before you developed your personality. That's why young children have that look, that presence, that ability to be completely absorbed in the present moment. They haven't forgotten who they really are yet. They haven't built all those layers of false identity on top of their essence. And the process of growing up, of becoming an adult, it's like putting layer after layer of clothing on your body until you completely forget what your own skin feels like. Awakening is simply taking off all those clothes and remembering how good it feels to breathe freely. Eckhart Tolle tells a beautiful story about this. He was walking in the park one day. He saw a child playing alone, completely absorbed, completely present. And for a moment, he envied that child. He envied that natural ability to just be there, without hurry, without an agenda, without worries. And that's when he realized he didn't need to envy, because that same presence existed within him. It exists within all of us. It's just been forgotten, covered, ignored, but never lost. It's like a crystal clear spring that has been covered with leaves, branches, and trash over the years. The water has always been there, pure, fresh, alive. It just needed to be rediscovered. And do you know how you discover this spring within yourself? It's not by meditating for hours. It's not by reading dozens of spiritual books. It's not by going on expensive retreats. It's much simpler and much closer than you imagine. It's paying attention to those 5 seconds when they appear. It's recognizing the signs I've taught you. It's stopping looking for awakening in complicated places and starting to see it in the simplest things in life, in the breath that enters and leaves your lungs, in the taste of coffee on your tongue, in the warmth of the sun on your skin, in the sound of the rain on the window, in a child's smile, in the silence of the early morning. Awakening is in all these moments, waiting, available, free. You don't need to be special to access it. You don't need to be enlightened. You don't need to have spiritual gifts. You just need to stop looking and start noticing. Because here's the ultimate truth. The truth that all masters know, but few teach clearly. You are already awake. You always have been. What you call awakening is simply stopping pretending you're asleep. It's like an actor who has played a role for so long that they've forgotten they're acting. And one day, someone yells cut, and they remember, oh, that's right. This was just a movie. I'm the actor, not the character. Your life is the movie. Your personality is the character. But you, the real you, you're the actor. Always have been, and always will be. And those 5 seconds before awakening, that's when you hear "crut" for the first time. That's when you remember, even for a moment, who you really are behind all the roles you've played. But it doesn't stop there. Because after you hear "cut" once, it becomes easier to hear it again, and again, and again. Until you no longer need to wait for someone to yell. You can choose when to stop acting and simply be. And when that happens, when you finally stop acting and start simply existing, that's when you understand what Eckhart Tolle means when he talks about the power of now. It's not a concept. It's not a philosophy. It's your own nature being revealed. It's like discovering that you always knew how to swim, but you spent your whole life afraid to get in the water. And when you finally get in, you realize that the water is your natural element, that you belong there, that you always belonged. The present moment is your water, your natural essence, your true home. You don't need to learn to live in the present. You just need to stop resisting it. Stop running away from it. Stop being afraid of it. Because in the present, there is no problem. In the present, there is no suffering. In the present, there is no past to regret and no future to fear. In the present, there is only pure life, pure consciousness, pure being. And when you finally surrender to this present, when you stop fighting against it, something extraordinary happens. You realize you've never been separated from life, never been alone, never been lost. You've always been a unique expression of existence itself, a specific form that universal consciousness chose to experience itself through, a specific wave in the infinite ocean of being. The wave was never separated from the ocean. The wave is the ocean. And you've never been separated from life. You are life, expressing itself through your unique form, your unique perspective, your unique experience. And when you finally understand this, not just intellectually, but viscerally, all suffering disappears, all seeking ceases, all thirst is quenched, because you found what you've always been looking for. You found yourself, your true self, not the small, limited, conditioned you, the big you, infinite, eternal, the you that always has been and always will be. And those 5 seconds before awakening, it's just the beginning of this journey back home, to your true home, which was never a place. It was always a state of being, a state of presence, a state of unconditional love for all that exists. Because in the end, you don't awaken to something. You awaken as something, as pure consciousness, as pure love, as pure existence. And that's the biggest irony of all. You spent your whole life trying to become something special, something enlightened, as you breathe, as you listen, as you simply are. Perhaps they're already happening. Perhaps you're already feeling that strange stillness, that space between thoughts, that presence observing it all from a serene, unshakable place. If so, don't try to hold on to it. Don't try to intensify it. Just acknowledge it. Just be grateful and let it be exactly as it is, because that is the great secret. Awakening isn't something you do, it's something you allow. And when you finally allow it, when you finally stop resisting your own awakened nature, you realize the search is over. Not because you found something new, but because you remembered something you never lost. You remembered home, and you realized you never left.